From news and views, issues and opportunities, we'll have in-depth conversations with decision makers to find out what they know and what they think. I'm Rico Hizon, inviting you to join the exchange because your business is our business. Going by the numbers, the country seems to have managed COVID-19 cases despite months of possible super spreaders in large campaign rallies and rising cases in neighboring China and in parts of the West. From what seemed like ghost towns for the past 2 years, areas are now teeming with people making up for lost time. One of the biggest gainers in the reopening of the economy, the tourism industry, thanks to the return of thousands of local and foreign visitors. The entertainment industry is also reclaiming center stage as more people are out and about, joining big crowds to enjoy the nearest thing to pre-pandemic times. And find out what's in store for sports fans under the new normal in our C-Suite Vision. The local travel and tourism industry may be turning the corner. Its re-emergence from the pandemic and contribution to recovery has ranked the Philippines as the world's fourth fastest growing economy in 2021, according to the latest World Travel and Tourism Council report. Let's now have an exchange with Charles Bautista of the Tourism Promotions Board and Philippine Travel Agencies Association's Michelle Thailan. Thank you so much for joining us on the exchange, Charles. Let me start off with you. The tourism sector is looking quite vibrant. Has it fully recovered?
We are not fully recovered, but we are on the road to a fast recovery in the tourism sector. We just recently concluded the World Travel and Tourism Council Global Summit, where we experienced, where we invited and hosted over 600 delegates from all over the world. And it's really a signal to the world that we're not just ready for leisure travelers, but we're also ready to accommodate MICE events here in the Philippines.
Definitely. No, it can be a full recovery after coming off 2 years of a major pandemic. So Charles, tell us, what are the major victories right now of the tourism industry?
Well, the major victories that we've had so far is, number one, our vaccination rates for all our tourism workers. We're now 89% vaccinated for our tourism sector. And right now, we are looking at the rehabilitation of a lot of our tourism destinations. And the third is really because of the Build, Build, Build program, we're able to create more roads, more infrastructure to make these destinations accessible.
Michelle, there's a lot of optimism, no? According to Charles, regarding the tourism industry. Are the numbers showing that? Are we seeing that in the number of bookings?
Yes, of course, because especially when the restrictions were lifted already and foreign tourists are now allowed to come here in the Philippines, there are already a big increase in our bookings and reservations with regards to flights and hotels. So this is an indication that revenge travel is real and people are really excited now to travel again and see the beautiful, see the destinations that they've missed for almost 2 years.
Absolutely. Even Filipinos, no, really want to go out and about across the archipelago to the beaches, to Baguio, to Cebu, Siargao, a lot of places that they have not seen for a couple of years. But Michelle, are the travelers mostly domestic? Are they mostly our kababayans? Or are we really seeing a huge influx of foreign tourists?
Well, we also have increase of the foreign tourists because when the borders reopened already, we have around 400,000 already international arrivals in the Philippines. And since most of our local destinations reopened and travel restrictions, travel requirements were already remove like the PCR test, a lot of people are already traveling already, especially within the Philippines.
Yes, with less restrictions, Charles, no, we're seeing more foreign travelers coming into the country. But on the flip side, what is the Tourism Promotions Board doing to further boost domestic tourism and to encourage more foreigners to visit the country?
Right now, we're doing a lot of programs for domestic tourism. One, where we've strengthened our motorcycle tourism program. So we've launched several circuits with the regional directors of DOT. We've already done the Baguio circuit, we did Cagayan Valley, and we're now doing Sorsogon. The motorcycle tourism program is really a way for us to bring all thousands of motorcycle enthusiasts to do their rides across the different provinces because a lot of people are still worried about airplane travel. So we are seeing a lot of tourists who are very interested in traveling into destinations that are accessible by road. And the second is we're also leveraging on the different pilgrimage tourism, especially we just finished Holy Week. So there are a lot of spiritual destinations that have been visited by the domestic tourists that we have. And also, a lot of our foreign tourists are interested in seeing the heritage sites that these spiritual places offer.
Just listening to your strategy, it seems like you're focusing more on domestic tourism rather than international travelers coming into the country. When are you going to focus on the foreign tourists? When are you going to go on international travel marts to encourage more of them to come to the country?
Right now, we are doing programs in promoting the Philippines abroad. So we are participating in a lot of the travel shows, including the World Travel Mart that's happening this year. We're doing shows with the WTTC this coming June, and also with the different shows in the Middle East and other parts of Asia. So we are continually promoting the Philippines in foreign markets. Right now, we are strengthening our domestic tourism programs just because there are some countries that are still not open to they haven't opened their borders yet for their travelers to exit their countries. So we want to make sure that at least with our domestic tourism market, it's strong enough to really help us in our road to recovery.
Thank you so much for this travel and tourism exchange, Charles Bautista and Michelle Thailand. And now here's a rundown of this week's top business stories. Agriculture Chief William Dar warns of a potential food crisis in the second half of the year due to the pandemic, higher fuel costs, and the impact of the Ukraine-Russia war on food supply. Although prepared to address a possible shortage, local food production programs must receive more government support. The Labor Department says the 33 peso minimum wage hike in Metro Manila and the 55 to 110 peso wage increase in Western Visayas will take effect in June. The wage boards in the Ilocos region, Cagayan Valley, and Caraga have also issued separate pay increase orders. And the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas joins other central banks in the world to stem inflationary pressures that could derail economic recovery. The BSP raised borrowing rates by 0.25% on Thursday, a first since 2018. And straight ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business. The curtains have reopened for the entertainment industry under the new normal. Two production heads join us next. And a historic and dazzling victory marked the comeback of the UAAP. Can we expect more action on the court? We'll have a chat with two UAAP executives. Keep it right here on CNN Philippines. News you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. The show must go on, and go on it did. More than 2 years into the COVID-19 pandemic, live concerts, gigs, and cinemas have returned, complete with in-person in-person audience, spectators, live spectators. And here to tell us more about the state of the entertainment industry are Carlo Orosa of Stages Management and Bogie Digia of Ovations Productions. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on The Exchange. Carlo, let me start off with you. Has the first 5 months of the year been good to the entertainment industry and for your talents?
It's slowly coming in. The work is slowly coming in, but still a lot of, it's like a hybrid now because remember during the first 2 years, it was all virtual. So when you say hybrid, it's like a mix of online and live. So some of us have already went into the studio, but still making sure that we follow safety protocols.
And Bogie, Ovation Productions is popularly known for producing big-time concerts. How have you pivoted the business during this new normal?
Well, to be honest, during the pandemic, Ovation didn't have any events. So it was a difficult 2 years for us, to say the least. But with the new normal, we just have to, I mean, like you said, the show must go on. We're still going to produce live events. But we have to, follow safety protocols. I think that's the only, you could say, pivot that we can do is, be more proactive in making sure that safety protocols are enforced.
And with the concert business restarting, more bookings taking place until the end of the year, so many people, as you mentioned, lost their jobs during the pandemic. Has the company, Ovation, revived some of those old jobs this year now that restrictions have relaxed?
Yes, we actually started filling out the old jobs as of last year, late last year, in preparation for this year. So, our old employees who are still available, we got them back. And we filled out some roles as well that were left empty. So yes, we were able to start filling out our workforce again.
And Carlo, you said that we're now seeing a lot of these hybrid performances from the talents of stages. But are they also traveling overseas to make up for the shortfall of performances here in the Philippines? Because other countries, particularly the United States, the Middle East, and Europe have already opened up. And we have large Filipino communities there that are hungry for Filipino talents.
Yes, we have. In fact, very recently, we did a concert called The Trilogy, which featured Christian Bautista, Eric Santos, and Morissette Amon. So we did a 6-city tour, and mostly in North America. We also had some shows in New York. So yeah, in the US, they're more open. Not a lot of people are wearing masks anymore, but they're not as strict sa mga protocols as compared to here. Like when you go, for example, when you go to a Broadway play, all they require is a vaccine card, proof that you've been vaccinated. That's it. But and you need to wear a mask inside the theater throughout the 2 hours of watching the play. So in the same way, dun din sa mga venues that we performed in throughout North America, a lot of the audiences were, had to follow all these safety protocols because we're still not out of the cloud yet, so to speak, because as you know, there's a new variant coming out and we still don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of months. But what's good about it is 2 years ago, prior to pre-pandemic or during the pandemic, 2020, the NLEC, the National Live Events Coalition of the Philippines, was forced to create a playbook to be able to safely navigate the pandemic while doing events.
Right.
So we acted immediately when this pandemic happened. We were able to create a playbook.
So Carlo, there is now a playbook. And of course, before the pandemic, talents were really in demand and could also demand their talent fees. Have talent fees also been reduced? Have overheads also been reduced because of hybrid performances and the still ongoing pandemic?
I would say in the beginning, we were more parang how you say it, we were more lenient with our fees, and we were of course being very considerate because everybody was affected, hindi lang yung industry namin but even the corporate world was affected. So budgets were cut, and so we had to adjust a lot of our ways, even the way that we scaled down the production. As you know, we were all working from home, and we were all trying to make do with what we had. Suddenly, all the artists bought their own ring lights, their own sound equipment. Everybody was doing their own thing at home, because nobody knew what was going to happen, and nobody knew what this COVID was going to be
And
like.
of course, many of them were also giving their own free concerts on Facebook and also starting their own YouTube vlogging accounts. Bogie, let me ask you, you're not only now into concert entertainment, but also into TV sports. Has that diversification helped the business?
Yes. We have another company that called TAP. We carry live sports, and not only sports but entertainment and news. It helped some of our staff who were able to transition to TAP. So during the 2 years with no live events for Ovation, some of our staff were able to work on TAP. So that kept them busy. It kept us busy. It helped, keeping the office, keeping the lights on. But yeah, so now we're actually busy with TAP and at the same time Ovation. Now that we're planning for shows towards the end of the year.
So where do you see now the concert scene headed in the second half of 2022?
I think it's going to be exciting. Second half of 2022. I know Carlos said there's a new variant that we should be concerned about, but if there's any indication, I think it can be managed. We can see in North America, even in Singapore, they're starting to hold, full capacity venues, and they're doing okay. So we just have to follow the NLEC playbook. We have to see how our neighbors are doing in the region, how they manage full capacity live events, and I think we'll be able to mount great shows again towards the end of the year. A lot of artists are planning to tour again towards the end of the year in the region, so it's going to be a busy second half of the year.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for this entertainment industry exchange. Carlo Rosa of Stages Management and Bogie Digia of Ovation Productions. And still ahead on the exchange, where your business is our business, sports is back to life and fans are filling the rafters both for the collegiate and professional leagues. We talk about what's ahead for college sports with the UAAP President and Executive Director. This is CNN Philippines, news you can trust. Glad you're staying with us right here on The Exchange, where your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Last month, the UAAP reopened its doors to live audiences. And this weekend, the cheer dance competition makes its much-awaited return. What do these developments mean for the league and other sporting events emerging from the pandemic? Let's now have an exchange with UAAP Executive Director Rebo Sagisag and President Nonong Calanog. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us and congratulations with the reopening of the UAAP Season 84. Rebo, let's start off with you. How did you prepare for the reopening of the games?
Well, basically, with the help of the President, we agreed parang to have a higher standard from whatever the government would allow us to. No? So if you would recall, even at the time that the basketball season opened, technically we could have proceeded to a closed circuit or a semi-bubble. Pero the hosts and the rest of the board naman agreed to have a bubble muna just so we can have, even if matters escalate, we are still able to continue, no? Technically, under alert level 2 or even up to alert level 3, pwede. So, parang kumbaga yung maximum na sitwasyon, pinaghandaan talaga namin kasi mas madaling mag-ease up at least napaghandaan na namin yung napaghandaan namin yung pinaka stringent requirements na, and thankfully we were incident free for the whole of the
Right.
basketball tournament. Yeah.
And of course, Nonong, the basketball tournament was a huge success. De La Salle University is the host of season 84. How do you plan for the sports competitions? Which ones will be included in this season and which ones would not?
Hello, Rico. Thank you for having us. No, for the sports, definitely the priority was. Remember, we have an ongoing contract with our provide our carrier, and there are certain sports that are mandatory for us. No, so that's men's basketball, women's volleyball, and cheer dance. No, so those were the primary sports that we had to prepare for. Now, as we were preparing for the season, we also discussed which other sports would be possible, and the criteria that we chose, because of the expense and for safety and health reasons, were sports that were short in nature, and secondly had fewer participants than the usual. No, so that's why we decided on those other sports. Like 3x3 basketball, men's beach volleyball, chess, and pumse, the forms of taekwondo.
So, Nonong, when will season 84 end?
Based on our projections, Rico, the women's volleyball tournament will probably end sometime mid-June. No, so that women's volleyball will technically be the last tournament for season 84, and when the women's volleyball tournament ends, that technically signals the end of season 84.
And Rebo, are the fans back in full force at the games, or are many of them still very cautious because of COVID fears?
I don't know if I can speak for all the fans now, but suffice it to say that yesterday, it was a rainy weekday. Rong and I were discussing, it wasn't bad, for a weekday volleyball game, and also, technically, even if we call it 100%, actually yun nga yung you've seen the pictures. Here we are, punong-puno kami ng finals ng basketball. Although technically, yung restricted area, which is what we used to refer as a patron section, sarado pa rin. But from the lower box up to the rafters, punong-puno kami. So if there's any indication, and sa demands ng tickets ang humihingi sa amin, parang the fans just wanna be back.
I know. Talagang punong-puno, no? Especially when you opened it to the live audiences. So, Nonong, what challenges do you still face within this season 84 season when holding these kinds of competitions? The cheer dance competition will be taking place this weekend, but with a limited number of participants.
Yes, Rico. I discussed this in our press con yesterday. Remember, our cheer dance competition, our teams need about 3 to 6 months to prepare. So when we decided to have the cheer dance competition, way back in, I guess, November or December, remember we were, I think, still at alert level 2, especially during the Omicron surge. And so we had to make a decision with regard to the number of participants, how long the routines would be, just to make sure that in whatever happens, we would still be able to continue with the event safely for our participants. So that's why the event is such. We trimmed down the time as well as the number of participants. Now, going back to your question, what other challenges? Of course, it's really the uncertainty. Knowing that in the news that the new variant is already in the Philippines, there has been local transmission, that is still foremost in our minds. And that's why all our tournaments, technically, although in closed circuit, we are being very cautious. All our participants will get tested every game day. I think based on our medical health and medical expert that we consult, that is really the key, just to make sure that all those who are participating are do not have do not have COVID so that they cannot transmit it. And that's why testing is really very important.
And Nonong, we have seen during the UAAP basketball championships, the women's volleyball tournaments, it's almost full house, especially with the very popular schools. Has it been also successful for the UAAP season 84 financially and business-wise?
Well, we will know that in a few weeks. We're now currently looking at our budgets and whether we were able to save on certain areas. But suffice it to say, Rico, comparing it to previous seasons, definitely this has been a more expensive season, both for the schools and for the UAAP. No? Our problem is really that because of COVID, we needed to put in additional medical stuff like testing. We had to, the schools had to put their teams in a bubble, so they had additional expense for food, for their dormitory, and all of these other things. No?
Yeah.
So we will know in a bit, probably when our accountants have looked at our budgets, if we were able to actually make a little money from the season, because actually we were prepared, Rico, to have the season without spectators. So the mere fact that we were able to bring in spectators, and as you have seen, a lot of them, we're hoping that we would have been able to offset some of our expenses.
All right, so definitely a lot more overhead for season 84 because of pandemic response. And Rebo, finally, what lessons learned in season 84 can you share with the new host, Adam Son, for season 85? This season will be starting later in the year.
Well, let me start off with, first of all, yung from a legal point of view, itong pandemic clauses in our contracts. Kasi nung nangyari yan, when season 82 was cut off, talagang nangapa ang mga tao because people didn't know what to do with our outstanding obligations, etc. etc. So that's one. And number two, siguro yung experience namin ni Sir Nong ngayon na hindi baling prepared tayong mahigpit and not easily to cave into public pressure. It is a decision which is very hard to make and we do it joylessly. It is not as if nag-enjoy kami na gawin yung unpopular choice, but we believe it is the right choice, if only for the health and safety of all of the our stakeholders. So it's better to be conservative kasi kami accountable eh. Now it's easy to say na buksan tayo, alert level na, mag 100% tayo, but there is someone to answer for all these things eh. And kami yun, sila Sir Nong and mga hosts and the presidents of the 8 member universities. So that's one thing that we should only one of the many things we've learned in season 84.
Thank you so much for this sports exchange, UAAP Executive Director Rebo Sagisag and President Nonong Calanog. And this is the exchange who makes sense of the facts and the figures and the ups and downs of the business cycle, because your business is our business. I'm Rico Hizon. Thanks for watching CNN Philippines. News you can use. News you can trust.